Well, welcome to Don't Know Much About, where curiosity kicks off our conversation. And today, we're all in for a treat as I sit down with a conversation with Sharon Nik, a Persian Israeli American citizen. Sharon is an activist and a community leader, a passionate American who works as a chair of community outreach and combating Jew hatred for the Israel American Civic Action Network, ICANN, the Iranian American Jewish Federation, and the Iranian Jewish Women's Organization, while volunteering with others. An Iranian Jewish grassroots community leader in Los Angeles, Sharon speaks about Jew hatred in Iran and warns us about the naivete many in the West have about antisemitism in America. She urges everyone to speak up now. So welcome to my show, Sharon.
I am so honored to be here, Naya. A good time, a good friend, and I so respect your work, and I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I always say this when I start with my guests. I probably sound like a broken record, but the show's tagline, my tagline for the show, is it all starts with a question. I love questions. I love curiosity. So my question for you is, what would be your tagline today that would capture what's on your mind lately?
I think we need to discuss the woke right.
Wow.
It's a conversation we need to have, and as a conservative, I feel like you have to call out the nonsense in your own circle. I don't even want to say party, circle. Yeah.
Thank you. Listen, this has been, this whole summer, I started thinking about, as you say, the woke right. Mm-hmm. I heard about it for years. People were telling me, and I always saw them on the fringe. Yeah, they were like on the fringe. I didn't want to pay attention. I didn't think they were important. And I think what I'm seeing, and I'm really glad that you want to talk about this because I really want to devote several episodes to this topic, is what I see that the fringe is now moving to the center. And as you're a conservative, I'm a conservative as well. And I absolutely believe that we must call out bad ideas and Jew hatred. So when did you start noticing it? Why is it on your mind specifically now?
I always knew 10, 20, 30 years ago about white supremacy. And I always knew they existed. And I think the reason why I feel we're seeing it more now is that social media has allowed the hate to metastasize. So now people feel like for clicks and views and just popularity and money, they can say whatever they want because of free speech. I started noticing something a little bit, I want to say, around COVID, which is a strange time to notice things, but it was a lot of people who claimed to be conservative, who were saying a lot of the right things, in my opinion, about how things are being dealt with. And some things they were saying, when you can almost tell, you can predict where they're going to go. Mm-hmm. Just a side note, I used to study trend forecasting. This was like a million years ago.
Where did you study?
It was a marketing class, but one of the things we focused on was trend forecasting, which was more for fashion, but they used a lot of tools in politics to show us where trends would go in fashion. But then the more you would read, eventually the class morphed into how things happen, how language can change and shift, and where it eventually leads. Mm-hmm. So I saw the language shifting, and then it sounded familiar. And I'm like, I just have this feeling that these same people who are saying they're conservative and talking about against government overreach and everything are eventually going to go towards anti-Semitism. And not because they know anything about anything. If you watch a lot of them now, they won't even know where Israel is on the map. They admit it was after October 7th that they even knew what Israel was, where it was, and who the Jews were. So, and then I was waiting and I'm like, maybe if Trump wins, maybe something will change. But
they've become emboldened.
They've become more emboldened. Yes.
Let's go. By the way, your observation is very astute here because I recently wrote a piece for the Jewish Journal about the woke right. And in it, I was interested in tracing where did that term even come from, the woke right, and when did it begin to have frequency? And actually, it was during COVID.
Yes.
So you were right. You hit the nail on the head there. You saw something happening. I didn't. So kudos to you there. I didn't see it at all. I wouldn't be able to predict it because I always thought to myself, well, what there are values that, so there are good ideas and bad ideas, and good ideas will protect from anti-Semitism in entering those spaces. Good ideas, patriotism, free markets, American values, Judeo-Christian values. And these are the ideas that basically supported the conservative movement.
Correct.
And I thought surely you could never see anti-Semitism there, but it did.
It did.
Right? And so, but why COVID? I think that what happened during COVID, everybody's sitting, we're all sitting home. Our interaction with the wider world is through the internet,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
And so what we're doing is something that I'm thinking about as I'm speaking to you and have been thinking about. For instance, in the left, the language that they use is, this is my truth, your truth.
Yes.
On the right, they talk about searching for the truth,
Correct.
the truth. Correct. And I think that what happened during COVID is we were all wondering, there are some weird things happening. The government is not being completely transparent.
Correct.
And absolutely, COVID was used by the Democrat Party to do some very bad things.
Yes.
The teacher unions, the schools, medical field, it became political, okay? And I think people were sitting and going on this search for the truth.
The rabbit holes, they went deep.
They went deep.
They went too deep. They went very deep.
And they found something that's very uncomfortable. And I don't know if you're going to agree with me on this one, but I think that what they found is that many of the ideas that are threatening to the conservative movement, the progressive ideas, are championed by Jewish people.
I completely agree. I do.
So, for instance, think about the Soviet Union. My field of interest has always been the Bolshevik Revolution. You know this, the Marxist Revolution in Russia. If you look at the minorities that were involved, Jews were disproportionately represented in the Bolshevik Revolution. Jews gave their support to Marxism in huge numbers. Trotsky was actually Bronstein. That was his actual last name. Point being is, you can't deny. So when you go to these dark right-wing spaces, they'll say things like, who's at the helm of these bad, they talk about George Soros all the time. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that?
I always say, I always tell people, I call out my own tribe first. And I do take issue with those kinds of Jews, which we still have today, who have this false sense of security in thinking, if there's enough tikkun olam and showing the world we're amazing and we'll follow every idea, that we will be loved and we won't be hunted. And I just started using this word the other day because that's what it feels like. We have an issue. The problem is there's such a small percentage of Jews, and the percentage that are uber progressive make the rest of us look bad, because we think that can I bring up a certain organization? May I?
Yeah.
Is it possible?
Sure.
I'm sure I'm going to get flack for it, but I don't care. A place like the ADL,
Okay.
Anti-Defamation League, 20, 30, 40 years ago, it was on the right track, I felt, right pace, and we were going to fight Jew hatred. But what it turned into, at least in the past 10, 15 years, has been anything but fighting Jew hatred. It was all progressive ideas. It's on their social medias. It's on everything. They don't hide it. So I put a lot of blame on the leftist Jews, progressive Jews, who put us last. So I don't know what the answer is, but I'm tired of making these legacy organizations who really haven't done anything for us. I'm tired of fundraising. I don't, but other people do. I'm tired of them having so much connection to, I hate to say politics, because they do. And of course they make us look back. So you're right. During COVID, people, if they dug deep enough, they'll find 2 or 3, 5 fringe things about Jews and say that's all of us. And it's not.
And it's
not us.
Right. But at least you and I both share at least that frustration with these people who now are finding themselves full on maybe anti-Semitic. At least we share a frustration that, a lot of the causes that are championed by progressives were championed by Jews.
Yes.
But I think what needs to happen, many things, but one of is to remind these people that there are luminaries, conservative minds who are Jews.
Correct.
Ayn Rand, right? There's just a tons of
Yes.
of Jewish conservatives
Correct.
who are championing very good pro-American conservative values.
Yes.
So okay, let's talk about
We're not given the same voice.
Right.
And I think you know that.
Right.
You know, we're not given the same
no.
voice or the platform.
no. What's up with Tucker Carlson? What do you think happened there?
Well, besides what we all believe to be true, which is that he's probably getting paid through some sort of Qatari money or God knows what, I think he was always like you could see he could be a grifter because he never quite stood, let's say, with Trump. He never quite stood with everything, although I was a fan for a long time, I admit. I think something happened, which is what I think also happened to Candace Owens. Like something, a person, financial backing. There has to be something in it for them.
Okay. I know a lot of people say that. That's why I asked that question. They think it's, follow the money. But a person like Tucker Carlson seems, I mean, you said he's a grifter, which is,
Well,
but let me just,
yeah.
I also think this is a man who has ideas. He's not, to me, it seems, and I could be, of course, very wrong. To me, it seems that he's not going to sell out for an idea. And the notion that he can be bought by Qatar, I don't know. It could very well be, but someone like him, I was having a conversation with someone and they said, well, everybody could be bought out. And I asked her, because she has very strong convictions, I said, would you be able to be bought out? And she said, no.
Right.
And I don't think everybody can be bought. I don't know if Tucker Carlson is for sale. I think that's why I'm asking. I'm trying to understand.
That's a good point.
I'm having my own I'm developing my own ideas. What is happening to people like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson? And I have to say, I'm a little bit concerned now with Charlie Kirk.
Yes.
I'm a little bit concerned with him. And I'll just for the viewers and listeners, a few weeks ago, he hosted this annual amazing youth
Turning Point USA,
summit.
yes.
Yes. And he brings Tucker Carlson, he platforms him there.
Right.
Basically deploys anti-Semitic tropes. That's a problem. But more nefarious and I think subtle in what's happening, I think, with Tucker Carlson is what I'm seeing in the conservative movement is if anti-Zionism was something that was flourishing within the left, I see it now in the right as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Their obsession with Israel.
They're so obsessed.
They're now obsessed with Israel. Right. He just hosted on X a focus group with
I just saw that today.
and I'm just
I saw
out of
that today.
all the things you could ask youth about Iran, Qatar, China, United States capitalism, Marxism, all the things that are very germane to our life.
Correct.
You're going to talk about a country, I don't know how many people know this. Israel takes up 0.01% of land mass in the Middle East. If not, I hope I'm getting that one correct. But it's so tiny. And this, right, but we know that for the anti-Semite, it's obsessive. Now, I'm not ready yet to say that Charlie Kirk is an anti-Semite. I think he's been an amazing champion, amazing advocate for the Jewish people. But I think he's toying and dancing with some very...
He's on a thin line.
He's on that. Yeah, he's crossing into some dangerous territory. And while he may be animated by just, curiosity, I don't know the people who are watching and listening to him, what are they experiencing? Like, are they thinking, yeah, I want to talk about Israel more. Let's talk about Israel more.
Why did he bring up AIPAC? Of all the care, no NIAC, nothing, just AIPAC. Why are they obsessed with only AIPAC?
Well, I was,
not the only group.
It's not the only group. I guess, again, I'm not yet ready to say Charlie Kirk is where Tucker Carlson is. But there's a danger. Look, I was talking to my friend earlier this morning about AIPAC and Tucker Carlson, and she said to me, well, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's saying, let's deal with these ideas because they're already out there.
Sure.
So he wants to kind of control the space and make sure that these young people have the best arguments. But if you listen to that focus group, he's not really, he's just having them talk. He's not
Correct.
really guiding them and saying, whoa, this is we're getting into dangerous territory here. So I'm really concerned, and I to be honest with you, I could not have predicted it. I really could not have predicted.
I wouldn't have either with him. Although in the past year there were other things he was doing, and I remember I would like send messages to friends who I knew had some connection to him. I'm like, you need to take care of this now, because what's going to happen, and what I've already seen and hear is happening, is that people who are conservative but are like, we're moderates, right? We're not these crazy, lunatic woke right. If it means our survival, we may just like bite the bullet and vote Democrat if we think at some point that's what's going to save us. I don't want us to get there, because I don't see a Democratic Party yet that is not associated with a DSA, Marxism, socialism. So that is like one place I don't want to go. And I don't know why they assume that Jews, it's the lies they spin, the narratives they spin, and then it's a matter of time before someone like Charlie Kirk, because of who he's surrounded by, could get influenced,
Right.
and question himself.
Right. Well, if you study the evolution of these parties, right? 20 years ago, there were people like myself who were saying, hey, the Democratic Party has a problem. The Democratic Party is getting infiltrated by some very bad state actors, bad faith actors, and by bad ideas. And people would say, oh, that's a right-wing talking point.
Correct.
Right-wing talking point. Label, it was the Saul Alinsky method, where you just, what is it called? Something for radicals. He wrote a book. Saul Alinsky is this radical thinker who wrote a book in the 1960s of how to deal with your opponents. And one of the way you deal with your opponent is you label, defame, demonize.
Yes.
And so the moment you would say that, oh, that's a right-wing talking point, so it immediately gets disqualified. And so, well, what happened to the Democratic Party is that it now is the dominant ideas that are running this party are anti-Semitic ideas, anti-American ideas, embracing full-on communism. And so you and I, who have been, for a while in the conservative movement, we need to speak, as in your intro, speak up about this, because I don't want the party to become dominantly now anti-Jewish.
Correct.
Because, and I've said this so many times, I'm going to sound like a broken record, anti-Jewish ideas signal rot of other more deeper rot in ideas, civilizations, societies. But you have many conservative friends. How do they react when you talk to them about this?
There's some who are still kind of clutching onto the idea that maybe if we just talk to them, like Charlie Kirk, that maybe, if we talk to them. And I have to tell you, I just actually wrote a post today, and I said, if you think I go after the left very hard, wait till I go after the woke right. Because you have to have a conviction. You have to stand on some sort of moral ground. I couldn't sit here and say, I'm a Republican conservative, I'm just going to ignore everything happening in my party. Because then no one takes you seriously if you just drift so easily from the left to the right to the middle. So I think some people are still, even I was at some point, I'm like, God, I really don't want it to be true. I really don't want it to be true. But again, during COVID, everything was a conspiracy. Like everything became a conspiracy. And I'm like, oh my God, we're now in a place where the truth is not the truth, a lie is the truth. And it's just one big cesspool of narratives. And now no one can differentiate between the truth and a narrative. Yeah. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but do you find people are willing to address this within the conservative
I think
base?
more are. I think, yes, I think more are. And it's really the only way. You can't say you're conservative and just keep a blind eye to things that you see and you're hearing. You just can't. Because then what am I standing up for? If I'm going to call out the lunacy on the left, I have to call out the insanity with the right. And I don't believe they're fringe, because again, social media metastasizes this. And then you have young people. I'll give you an example. There are artists. I'm an artist at heart. In that art space, all they preach is love and coexistence and anti-war. But the minute you really pull the covers off, the mask is off, it's Jew hatred. And for a while, they'll say, no, I'm against Zionism.
Yes.
But you give them enough rope, they hang themselves, and they blurt it out. It finally comes out that they just really think we are the oppressors of the world. And the math ain't mathin'.
Yeah.
16 million people against the rest of the world. How?
Right. I understand. Right.
Yeah.
That's, again, back to the point that I made earlier, which is that for the anti-Semite, the Jew takes up much of real estate space in their mind.
Yeah.
I also think that the conservative movement right now is having a kind of a evolution, if you will. They're trying to figure out who they are. And I think that the two extreme poles are isolationists and interventionists. And we saw that with the Iran conflict, the 12-day Iran war, where you had so many on the right who were saying, this is absolutely, we're bringing America into war. Israel's dragging America into war. The Jews are dragging America into war. This is a terrible foreign policy. And then you had others within the conservative movement who were saying, no, this is the right thing to do. And they even played tapes from Tucker Carlson, who maybe 5 years ago was saying that we must take out Iran nuclear sites. So I really think that they are having kind of an identity crisis, if you will, and it's being refracted through Israel and through Jews. That's just, we are the world's canary, as they say. Yes. But in this case, I think what's happening is that through Israel, the larger question that they're asking is, who are we? Are we isolationists? Are we interventionists? Where do we stand in terms of our foreign policy?
I'm an American, and I say that as someone who was born in Israel. I'm Persian, but this is my homeland now.
Yes.
Of course, my soul, deep down in my soul, my connection is to Israel, obviously. But what I want to do is keep America safe. And what people on the right don't realize is if you don't keep Israel as an ally, you won't be safe. And I think a lot of these people, woke right, a lot of them are just, and I hate to even say, I hate to call them white, because I find myself defending the white people. And now I don't want to say white.
I don't want to demonize the white.
No. I just don't know what to call. I feel like I don't know what to call them. And it's unfortunate because that's what they identify as on their own.
Yes.
So I don't know what to call them because that's what they keep identifying as. So if that's what they're going to go with, they don't know anything about the Middle East. That's the issue. You talk to them long enough, again, they'll admit, never heard of Israel, wasn't even on my radar. They've never met someone from Iran. They don't know what we went through. They don't know our stories. And I have to tell you, when I moved here in America, I don't want to be represented. I honestly didn't. And I'm like, we just want to be left alone, I don't need representation in TV. I just leave us alone. And that's what we thought. We had fled an Islamic regime, came here, sorry, I'm like going to a bunch of places.
No, I wanted to talk to you about this, so go ahead.
20, 30 years ago, and I was younger then, and I was still idealistic. Even then, I'm like, that movie, it's like, this movie doesn't end well. What we escaped Iran is slowly coming to America. And it's interesting, my dad always tells me a story about this professor he had when he was like 18 that said America in about 60, 70 years is going to be on its way to socialism. But the way they're going to do it will be you won't know that it's happening because it's a long game. So again, sorry. So I think a lot of Americans don't know the Middle Eastern story. They've never met Persians. They don't know what we dealt with in Iran. And I think they'll look for are these little fringe Jews that are anti-Israel and
and become tokens.
Become tokens. Oh, but look at what so-and-so said.
Right.
I don't even want to say their names. You and I know. And the other funny thing is they post about it as if Jews have never heard of them. I'm like, you're telling someone who has had to deal with leftist Jews who they are? Like, you just discovered this person. So it's lack of knowledge. And it's also the refusal to listen. Doesn't matter how much evidence you provide. This is why I'm so afraid of the woke right now. They don't even want to look at evidence. They don't want to see it. They have to other somebody. It's the Jews' fault. The economy's bad. It's the Jews' fault. We're going to go to war. It's the Jews' fault.
Right.
So I
want to switch gears for just a second, and I think it's not a coincidence. In fact, I know it's not a coincidence that you're my third guest and you're an immigrant and I'm an immigrant.
Yes.
And I think that it's not that I'm only solely inviting immigrants.
It just happens to be.
It just happens to be. And I think there's probably a very revealing reason for it. I want to talk about your experience in America. You were born in Israel and you came here when you were 8 years old.
Yes.
And when I introduced you, there were so many, you were Iranian, Israeli, Jewish, American.
Yes.
So all these four identities, if you will. What do you think of yourself first? Like, who are you? If I said, Sharon, you are?
Oh, that's a tough one, because I think sometimes it depends on the day, honestly. But I could say for the longest time, American,
Interesting.
for the longest time.
Okay.
However, maybe in the past 10, 15 years, more of my Israeli Zionist side has become more pronounced, because now I realized, oh, I have to be. You know, I can't just pretend. You know what?
What did you mean when you said American? What did that mean to you?
Land of the free, like opportunity, like this. How could you come here and not want to experience what America, I should say, still almost is, but was?
Yes.
You know, how could you? How could you not want this amazing experience? Like just things I wouldn't be able to do if I was still in Iran, right? Those freedoms.
Did your parent? Now, I had another guest from Iran as well, and just out of curiosity, did your parents leave after the revolution?
Right before, if you want to hear the story, it's pretty crazy.
Yes, please.
I had told you before, my brother and I were born in Israel. When my father's contract was up, we went back to Iran. I really kind of like still don't remember the years, but it was pre-1979. And we were there for maybe 2-3 years. And then we started seeing the sounds and the rumblings of this revolution coming. And my dad was called into, what did I call it when I told you?
The consulate.
The consulate. And
Yes.
they told him that he needs to leave. And part of it is kind of the jobs he had. So, you know, they would have come out. The Ayatollahs, the Islamic regime would have come after my dad just because of the positions he held.
The work he had.
The work he had. So we literally, as a child, I remember like packing up really quickly. And then we had to go to the airport 3 times. Twice I remember images of like these military guys stopping us. We went back home. We made a final attempt, got on the last El Al flight on a Saturday, on a Shabbat, out of Tehran, flew to Israel. I even remember us sleeping in the airport, like being the last people on the plane. And, you know, we went to Israel and we found out the next day they had gone to my grandparents' house looking for my dad. So, and then we were in Israel for another few months, thinking we could just resume life there. However, and this is something that came out later in my life, is we didn't, because I had PTSD from being a child in the Yom Kippur War. I was an infant, and I don't know if you could still see, there's a scar above my head.
No.
And that's
Oh,
from
wow, I
a
see
fall going into the bomb shelter. My mom running into the bomb shelter, falling on the stairs. I hit my head, was unconscious. It was this whole thing. And yeah, then it gets hard to talk about. But anyway,
Do you remember this?
I don't remember. I
Because
was
you
like
weren't an
9.
infant.
I was like
Yeah.
9 months, 10 months old. But I
Right.
was hospitalized, and there was this whole like. My parents still won't talk about it. That's whatever it was. They still won't give me the details. But the sounds, you know, when there's going to be a rocket attack, those sounds stayed with me. And I guess the doctors told my parents, if you stay here, your daughter will, you know. I used to run into the closet when I would hear any kind of siren, any kind of horn. Like it was traumatic. And I say this and I feel ridiculous because there are soldiers, like IDF soldiers, who go through war.
Yes, but they're not 2 years old or 1 year old.
Yes.
Right?
But I never thought growing up that something at 9 months, 10 months old would affect me like that. But apparently it did. And when we moved to America, it took another 10 years or so before I realized what was happening. Sirens here also freaked me out.
Wow.
It was, yeah. It's so when I'm saying like now I really connect to my Jewish Israeli side is because I realize what people go through every day.
Yeah. We don't even understand.
We
you
don't know.
I'm a huge Jew, you know, you know this,
Yeah.
Zionist, and Israel's always on my mind and heart. But I don't actually know what it's like for the people there.
Right.
Like what, you know, I teach the Arab-Israeli conflict, and when I teach about the Gaza unit, I always talk about bomb shelters and how in Israel there's you have to, in order to have a house, you need to have every apartment building, every cafe. But you just, I even talking to you now, I don't even know what that means to walk around and then just have to go to a bomb shelter. I just don't understand.
This is normal life for them.
But it's normal life.
It's normal life. And but the thing is, it seems like it's normal, but they do get affected. That's why when you go to Israel, and we're so just, and I say we're
they're very tough.
Very tough. It's that reason. You can't grow up in that kind of surrounding and not be affected. There's just no way.
Yeah.
There's no
well,
way.
a lot of people talk about how Israelis are maybe abrasive, harsh, tough, but you have to be.
You have to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the way it is.
And what was it like for you to grow up in America? What was the immigration experience like for you?
I assimilated so quickly. I don't even know how. I mean, I didn't go to ESL. They wound up choosing me to go help with the ESL class. So English was easy for me. I didn't, I guess, really look Middle Eastern, so that could have also helped me assimilate. However, even as a young child, I heard what was happening in the news, and I heard the hate against Iran and Israel. So and I regret this decision to this day. I told my parents, I don't want to speak Hebrew anymore. I want to be American. I don't want anyone to know. And so I forgot how to read and write and speak, and now I'm trying to relearn.
Do you go and visit Israel?
That was another tough thing. I didn't go until 2012. It was a long time, and it was a very serendipitous reason why I wound up there. But the minute I landed, you just feel something.
I know.
It's like you're home.
Yes.
I can't explain it.
Yes.
And I'm like, wow. And then just to walk, Jerusalem was a whole different kind of, and I have memories from Jerusalem. I have memories as a child. And it was just so intense. And then when I came back, I'm like, how could I have not kept the language? What was my fear? And I became a huge Zionist after that, like bigger, more vocal.
More vocal,
Yeah.
right. Let's talk about being vocal. When did you become vocal? So in your introduction, I referenced the three nonprofits, grassroots orgs that you are working with. When did you become vocal?
I think it was accidentally, actually. I just, I don't owe anyone anything. I guess I was at an age where I'm like, no one's paying my bills. I'm going to say what I want. And so I think I became vocal around the time of social media. I'm saying it because that's when everyone seemed to be more vocal. I think, yes, on Facebook, I became very vocal. How many years has it been since Facebook's been around? A long time now?
A long time.
A long time. And sometimes the memories pop up and I read what I wrote. I'm like, oh my God. So wow. I think that's when I became more vocal. And then the past few years, I think I would just go to a lot of events that interested me with organizations I feel were doing the good, like hard work.
Yes.
I'm meeting people who've been doing it way longer than I have. The IAJF has been around for, I want to say 50 years. I mean,
Oh, wow.
here, give and take.
This is the Iranian
American Jewish Federation. They actually helped people immigrate from Iran here. They helped my grandparents. I didn't find this out till like a few years ago. So, and then ICANN, which we do policy change. And then IJWO has been more recent, and it's Iranian American Jewish Organization. And it's really just to help the community grow. It's beyond fundraising and galas. It's really more about community.
But taking on hard issues that I think the legacies are not willing to take.
And by the way, whenever like someone approached me to come like work with the organization, I'm like, you've seen my social media, correct? Are you sure you want me associated? But I think deep down people appreciate someone who's more outspoken.
Yes.
I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I always say I'm your shot of tequila. So
I like that.
And that's okay.
That should be your tagline.
Okay.
I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I am
your shot of tequila.
Shot of tequila. That's good.
Because what's the point of being polite and politically correct? Where did it get us?
Yeah, I understand.
Did we get somewhere being politically correct?
Well, I think it actually did more damage even.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing your story. The reason I really wanted to hear it is I'm also an immigrant, right? But I came here when I was very little, and I work now with youth, with high school and college students in New York, in schools, and I teach them about the Arab-Israeli conflict, and then I watch them go to campus, and I continue having a mentorship relationship, speaking with them, and I was just speaking to some of my former students, and I asked them, when you go to campus and you hear views that are not aligned with your views, how do you stay true to your convictions? I asked them. How do you not get swayed? How do these ideas not woo you? Because my mother always says to me in a joking way, she's like, Naya, if you would have become like a communist, I wouldn't be able to have lived with myself. Like if you have been like an anti-Zionist Jew, she's like, we would not be talking. Like, and she's like, I don't know how it is that you remained who you are. And so I talked to these students or former students of mine, and there are different responses. I get different responses. But then I start reflecting on my own self and thinking, why didn't I get swayed? Why did I go to UC Santa Cruz and then UCLA and hear all these theories of post-colonialism, and why did they not woo me? And I think it has to go back to being an immigrant, or at least a child of immigrants. I agree. Because what was told at our dinner table or breakfast table, whatever, in car rides, over and over and over, there was this one idea that was being constantly reinforced in my family, was what you said earlier. How could you not come to this country and not understand how amazing it is? Exactly. That this is a gift, that this is a blip, that this country is, this experiment is so unique, and it could be gone like that. And so the precarious nature of America, of knowing that it could just at any moment, I don't even want to entertain that idea, but just crumble. That I remember when I was in college and I met all these radicals with their fists up. This is way before BLM, like speaking truth to power, dismantle systems of oppression, the industrial complex. They talked about the industrial complex of the United States of America. I remember I looked at them and I'm like, you just are really privileged, and you have no clue. You have no clue what it means to live outside of this country. You don't even understand. And I'll give you this example. Last year I was teaching a class on the Arab-Israeli conflict. We're talking about Gaza. We were talking about Judea, Samaria, and we're talking about how in Judea, Samaria, there's a military occupation. And what that means is that the Israeli army is present in Judea, Samaria, and that there are many quote unquote checkpoints, but it's for security reasons. And the students said to me, Dr. Lekht, they said, I can't imagine living, that's oppressive, to live in a place where there's, police all around me. And he's like, whenever I look at the police, I think oppression. His own police in New York.
In New York.
And I thought to myself, yeah, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. And the fact that you look at the police and you think oppression, that's a big problem.
It's a huge problem.
Because when I grew up in the United States of America in the 90s, when we saw a police officer, do you know what we did? We said, thank you for your service.
Exactly.
And I have a son, and when he was little and the police would ever walk into Coffee Bean or anywhere else, I would tell my son, go up and please say thank you. Because we need to do that.
I don't understand how.
I don't understand it. Well, yeah. I have many ideas of why this is happening. And so I'm extremely concerned. But I think that for me, what anchors me is knowing that my parents left a totally rotten regime, and they lived it, they experienced it. They know what it means to actually face institutional oppression, which is what anti-Zionism was. Yes. They actually know, having a not safe space, that's not institutional oppression. But
they're so privileged.
They're so privileged. But you know what? It could also be kind of this, having too much. When you have too much of something good. That's privilege.
You just hit on something that I feel also ties in. There isn't economic literacy happening in the schools. And so no, literally this
No,
has,
my seniors
right?
asked me last year, they're like, how come they don't teach us how to fill out your tax reforms?
I mean,
We don't know what a W-4 is.
they
They
don't
asked me, like, how
know.
come we don't have that class? And I said, that's actually a really good idea. I think that they should be teaching
Because
these
if
things.
they knew how much things cost to make and run, they wouldn't be asking for these insane wages or like free, housing. They don't know. And the more they think everyone else has something, the more, sorry, oh, well, look at so and so is rich. I think
Yes.
there's a lack of there's something they're not teaching in schools and it's intentional because if you take away their that lesson of how things really work, I think then it can translate into politics, right? Because all these socialist Marxists believe things should be free. They don't understand that nothing is free, right? But I feel like, you know how I say there's trend forecasting, there's certain ideas that lead to other ideas. They just birth other ideas. And I've been saying for a long time, I don't know why they don't teach this literacy. It's so important. Because if they actually had to do the math, it would work in other areas of their thinking. I really think this, and I think this is something else we can eventually talk about because they lack literacy in so many things. So it's easy to fall for any idea that they see on TikTok,
Yeah.
right?
Well, right. Well, that's the other problem is that they're being educated
Right.
in TikTok University. Sorry to say. But
It's so bad.
it's so bad. I mean, there are so many things that we could discuss in terms of like what are the problems and diagnose them. But
Yeah.
like what are some solutions? And by the way, whenever anybody asks me that, when I'm sitting on the opposite
Right.
end and I get invited, it's the most hated question. So I'm sorry, I'm
No,
asking
I'm
it
thinking,
because
like,
I'm like,
what is the solution?
what would be a solution to all these problems that we talked about today? So,
The thing is, there are solutions. The problem is, I feel like the train has left the station, and trying to catch up with it is what we have to think about. Like what we're doing, with ICANN is
battling ethnicity.
battling the ethnicity. Yeah, but the train left the building. When we were telling people what LAUSD is doing, they just didn't believe us. We didn't believe you. They didn't believe many people, right? So when the train already leaves, you now have to catch up.
So you have a different
You have a
strategy.
difference. It has to be different. So the solution just has to be first stopping that train. How do we stop the train? It's very difficult, especially let's say in places like California or New York City. The bluer the state, the harder it seems. It's more difficult, it seems.
Of course.
Right now.
Yes.
So the solutions are yes, education, yes, maybe platforming different people. But how do you do anything when you have the free speech? And these tech companies, who, by the way, the other problem is they don't stop the lies. You and I have experienced posts we see, let's say on Instagram, literally calling for the murder of Jews. You can report it 1,000 times. It doesn't get taken down. These are other problems we have. So we can educate all we want, but if the algorithm is only showing something, showing certain things, then how are we going to fight it? I don't know, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I think that part of it is diagnosing the problem correctly. And I've been thinking it's an education problem, and I don't know if it is an education problem so much. And so I actually think it's an ideology problem. And I know we have to wrap up, but as we're wrapping up, I'll share with you again that class that I taught for seniors on the Arab-Israeli conflict. I came in there thinking, okay, I'm gonna start with facts. I'm gonna start with a chronology, a timeline, situate them geographically into the Middle East. Who are the Sunnis, the Shia? Show them democracy indexes, all this kind of, present information before them. And what I found out very quickly was that this is not an educational problem because they've been marinating in an ideology where the underdog is always just. Empathy is being weaponized against good people. Yes. So you empathize with the wicked. And that famous tractate from the Talmud, if you are kind to the wicked, you will end up being wicked to the kind.
Yes.
And so what I realized really early with that class was that actually I need to not teach facts, not now at least, later, but I need to spend time trying to at least unwind, unpack, break down wrong frameworks. And it's hard because I met them senior year. They've been doing this since kindergarten.
Right.
In kindergarten, if you go to Barnes and Nobles or any bookstore and look at the children's books, It's empathy on steroids. Everything, or tolerance. We have
Yes.
to tolerate everything, but I don't think we have to tolerate everything.
No.
I think there are certain things that should not be tolerated.
Absolutely not.
Right? And that's the other problem with Holocaust education is that, among other things, it was being framed as a story of intolerance. So what's the answer to intolerance? Tolerance.
Right.
But what happens when you tolerate really bad ideas? Well, what happens when you tolerate really bad ideas is that in New York City, you have Americans, white, standing there saying, we are Hamas. We are Hamas. That's what happens.
I want to know why they're even here if they like these ideologies so much better. I always ask them, I'm like, I'm not sure why you're not living in a, Islamic country, Iran. Go to Gaza. I don't understand. Like,
well, right-wing talking point, and delegitimized your actually very astute question. All right. Well, listen, I want to thank you so much for joining me on Don't Know Much About. I'm really glad also that you just wanted to talk about the woke right, because I think it's not just on our horizon, it's completely in.
It's here.
It's here. It's here. It's something we must keep on talking about, ringing that alarm. But what I want to caution my viewers and listeners is that when it comes to anti-Semitism on the left, we have to fight the bad ideas that prop up that anti-Semitism, and that is Marxism, post-colonialism, anti-Americanism. On the right, patriotism is not a bad idea.
No, absolutely not.
Judeo-Christian values are not bad
Absolutely
ideas.
not.
I think that we need to further study this phenomenon of the proliferation of anti-Semitism on the right.
Yes.
And after we really fully understand what is going on, then we can have better strategies. But I really want to thank you. And thank you for sharing your story, personal story. So thank you so much for joining me on this very special episode of Don't Know Much About. Stay tuned, subscribe to my YouTube channel, listen, like, and obviously share. Thank you so much.